So Pop Smoke was killed in Los Angeles a while back. They caught the young kids who actually did it. Some of them were like underage. And it was just announced today that the prosecution will not be seeking the death penalty for the people who killed Pop Smoke. You personally, do you feel like there should be a death penalty? Or across the board, you think that the death penalty should be abolished?
I think the death penalty should be abolished. It's not seek. I think seek is the correct word I'm trying to use. It's another word that I would like to use. It's not applied equally. And when you look at the stats of the people on death row, it looks like it could be racist. If you're a black guy and you kill a white guy, you're more likely to go on death row. Mm-hmm. If you're a white guy and you kill a black guy, you probably won't go on death row for that murder. So
or a black guy killing a black guy, like in this case.
Exactly. So when you look at the stats, it doesn't add up, okay. And it doesn't deter murders. The states that have the death penalty that does the most killings have the most murders in those states, Yeah. So it's the fact that it doesn't necessarily deter crime.
Yeah, I mean, me and Mark Lamont Hill got into like a heated argument about this, and he was more equipped than I was to talk about it because I was really just going off the cuff. And he said, well, what about the people who end up getting executed and you find out after the fact that they're innocent, which happens all the time.
Yes.
Right? So there's that,
But you're willing to give the state absolute power to kill its citizens through the death penalty.
Well, it's not absolute power because, even putting someone on death row takes decades.
Right. Because we get it wrong so much.
They stay on death row for decades until a person doesn't get a trial, then get killed a month later. That never happens.
Well, thankfully, the Innocence Project estimates that as many as, I think the number is either 20 or 25% of people on death row might be innocent. Even knowing that the number could be that high, you're still okay with killing people?
I mean, I'm not familiar with that number. If you're saying that's what it is, I'd have to look into it.
Well, let me ask you, what margin of error would you be comfortable with?
I mean, obviously it would be zero.
Right, but you concede that it's impossible for the number to be zero, right?
It is impossible for the number to be zero.
So just by agreeing to the death penalty, you're conceding to a world where people who didn't do the crime are going to get executed.
I mean, it's an interesting point. I see where you're going with this, and I don't have a good answer. And then when you look at the other side, like, should someone like a Timothy McVeigh, who did the Oklahoma City bombing, should he get life in prison or should he get the death penalty? When it's, established beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was the one who did it. He's the one that killed hundreds of people, or Dylan Roof, who went into the black church and just started shooting everyone to try to start a racial war, where it's, whatever. I mean, do you feel that those people should have gotten life in prison? Or do you think that they should have been, I don't know what's happening with Dylan Roof, but
McVeigh got killed. They killed
McVeigh got killed. That's what I'm saying. He got like a lethal injection. Do you think that McVeigh getting killed was a proper punishment, or based on what you said, he should have just gotten life in prison as well?
I mean, is it a proper punishment for killing somebody? Can you say what's proper and what's not proper?
Good point.
Who am I to be the judge? But I think him sitting in prison for life would definitely give him something to think about. Now if it was a possibility that he may get out, that's different. But if you give him life without the possibility,
triple life plus 200 years, like
if you give him without the possibility of getting out of prison, then I think that all the statistics show that killing people doesn't stop crime. It only gives revenge to whoever was seeking that revenge.
This is true.
So I don't think that if we're not going to have death penalty, it's for everybody,
Right. But, you were given life in prison and you beat it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that, and I'm biased too about drugs. So, I don't think that selling drugs should award a life sentence, because when you sell drugs, it's really a victimless crime. They consider that a victimless crime because
I can see that. Yeah.
the person who you sold the drugs to is not going to come to court and say, "Oh yeah, he sold me drugs and I didn't like
No,
it."
he's willingly buying the drugs from
He's
you.
willingly buying it.
Yeah.
He's a grown person. They made a conscious decision to use drugs. I don't think that the system should be allowed to dictate to people who can use drugs and who can't use drugs. I mean, it's our bodies. We should be allowed to
Yeah.
do whatever we want to do to our bodies.
It's a great point. If you want to do crack, you do crack. If you want to do heroin, ecstasy, opioids, no one's usually forcing you to do this stuff.
Exactly.
You want to get high. And, I mean, like, I had an interview with Lamar Odom, who at one point was addicted to crack. And he grew up with an addict father. And in Queens, where there's crack addicts everywhere, where, he even said, he goes, it's not like I didn't know what the repercussions were for doing this, but I still did it. Right? It's not like, oh, I had no idea that I was smoking a joint and it happened to have cocaine. No, it's like he knew what he was doing. And people still choose to do it because
that's what they want to do.
People want to get high.
Right.
And people will always want to get high.
And we're not the only animals that get high.
Right.
Other animals.
Birds get high. Yeah.
They seek out different fruit to get them drunk and get them high. So
this is true.
Not wanting to deal with reality is something that, everybody suffers from that.
There you go.
So I don't think that we should be punishing, in my theory though, the user, the middleman, and the grower, they're all the same. They all play a role in the game.
I agree.
And without one, there's no other.
Yep.
And we should be treated as one.
That's how we're going to end it. Great way to end it as well. Freeway Ricky, always a pleasure. Until next time. Peace.